born in Inglewood, California, moved to Altadena, which is next to Pasadena, in 1941. The influence as far as music is concerned was my mom. I went all through junior college in Pasadena, John Muir High School, Pasadena City College, and then I went to UC Santa Barbara for my remaining 2 years or 2.5 years in college. My evolution into jazz happened because I really couldn't handle playing legitimate trumpet. It didn't interest me. The evolution into trumpet happened because I have two uncles, both of whom played in the military, music in the military bands. One played cornet and the other played trombone. And I couldn't tell you exactly how I ended up with the cornet and Alan, my brother, ended up with trombone, but that's how it started. And I think I was about 9 when I transitioned from trying to learn to play with 2 hands, which didn't work very well, and could concentrate on a single hand. And so I think I was 9 or 10 when I first started playing on my uncle's silver Holton cornet. My brother and I were in a band starting when I was in the 8th grade. That band actually got me started interested in jazz and in bands. And a couple of times while I was still in high school, that 8-piece band got expanded to 16 pieces for a couple of concerts and assemblies in high school and so forth. And then in junior college, we had a roaring big band the whole time I was there. The trumpet player that probably was inspirational to me, even though it was a far different type of music, was Rafael Mendez, just like everybody else in my era. Ray Anthony was an inspiration, Harry James, of course, and I got the Kenton infection in the mid-50s. Heard the band once at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium right after they had recorded Cuban Fire, and that was it. It was over with. And from that time on, if somebody would ask, "Oh, who's your favorite band? What band would you like to play in?" It would always be Kenton. So I got exposed to a lot of different kind of music, but the Kenton band just somehow reached my soul.
How did you get into the Kenton band?
Well, it was a classic case of being in the right place at the right time.
I was sure that had to be a good story.
My brass instructor, Dr. Faulkner at Santa Barbara, had gotten to know Stan over the years because Stan was very committed to music education. And Dr. Faulkner, as a widely respected trumpet instructor, they had gotten to know each other. So I'm in my last semester at Santa Barbara, which ended up in January of '61, and Dr. Faulkner called Stan, and he says, "I got this kid who thinks he'd like to be in your band." And anyway, so Stan said, "Well, send him down." Stan says, "Well, come on, we're rehearsing now. We're rehearsing some new music, and so why don't you come by," and so forth. So I went to this grungy little rehearsal hall, and they're rehearsing this new music. And it scared me because my weakest part as a trumpet player was suddenly exposed, and that was sight reading. I was never a good reader. I'm pretty good now, but anyway, it took a long time to get that way. So we played music I'd never heard, and we were playing arrangements that were written for this mellophonium band. I didn't do very well. At least my own assessment was that it was less than sparkling. but apparently,
So sparkling being the operative standard by
sparkling, you got to be pretty sparkling. So anyway, but apparently either my sound or what I did play or my volume impressed enough the lead player in the band at the time, Dalton Smith, that he suggested to Stan and to Jim Amlott, who was the road manager at the time, that I say, "Would you like to play mellophonium?" Something I'd never even heard of before that day. And so I was offered the one remaining open chair in the mellophonium section at that time to go out on the road. So I took the horn home and spent the next couple of weeks trying to retrain my ear from B flat. Trumpet's in B flat, the mellophonium's in F. So I went out on the road starting in March of '61, and by 3 months I was playing lead mellophonium. And so I was very fortunate in that respect because I did a lot of recording with the band. And one of the albums, the Kenton West Side Story, was a Grammy Award winner. The Kenton Christmas was an Academy Award or a Grammy Award winner. And so that's a wonderful legacy to have, that to be part of the band during that 2 years. That was it. 2 years of a kid from Altadena who really had no professional experience, going from the very controlled and calm environment of UC Santa Barbara, which only had 3,000 students at the time, to going on the road with the Kenton Band in 6 weeks. It was quite a change. You know, that was what started my dual career. I went from Sears to Ampex to IBM for 15 years. And while I was still with IBM in 1975, we hightailed it out of LA and moved here. I actually was here for about 3 weeks before Carolyn and the kids came up, because I had to start working for IBM. And so I went to the Musicians Union, introduced myself, says I'm moving here from Southern California. And you know, I was a classic blindered person. There can't be any really good music outside of LA, New York, Chicago, and so forth. And I met this wonderful lady at the union office and told her where my background was and so on. And she says, "Oh, well, you gotta go. There's a band in town that's called, I think they called them Spokane Jazz Clinics or something like that. Does that name ring a bell?" Or anyway, she said, "Well, they rehearse on Sunday afternoons at the Elks Club downtown." And there I meet Craig Balsing, Larry Jess, Dennis Carey, John Lupert, Dick Raymond, all these great guys who are now, of course, 40-year friends, those that are still around. So I moved, and sitting next to Lauren Rux, sitting between Lauren and Craig, and Steve Filippini was in the band at that time, can't remember who else. And I was having coffee or drinks or whatever with the guys. I said, you know, this band could really be something if we had an organization, if it was organized in some way, and we had a director. This can be something with this much talent. And out of that, the Spokane Jazz Society was born. So I have a great deal of pride in the fact that I was the first president of the Spokane Jazz Society. Talk about a bad decision. In fact, all the members of the board were musicians. Not a good idea.
We all know how that goes.
So, I mean, we fumbled along and did some concerts down in the park at the Boeing Amphitheater and all that kind of stuff. And you remember Clay Black? Anyway, he was a big supporter of the band, as was Sally Palmer.
Yes.
And fortunately, we were able to convince some non-musicians to come in and get the train going in the right direction. And I mean, the history is pretty special. So yeah, and another one of the great things that happened to me after I came here was I got to play with the jazz orchestra and also just as an ensemble behind an incredible list of guest artists, vocalists and instrumentalists who have come to Spokane, and that was always a lot of fun.